Welcome to the Cunningham Piano Show, where we explore life between the keys. I'm your host, Hugh Sung, and with me today is pianist Daniel Immel, who's also the professor of piano at Kutztown University. Dan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, it's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. And so I understand you have a very interesting origin story. You know, it's interesting. Sometimes I think of musicians as superheroes, superpowers, and they all have interesting ways that they discover their powers. And you've got a pretty interesting story that correlates with anything that comes out of a superhero comic book. Tell me a little bit about how you got started with the piano.
Well, it's most, I mean, in my experience and the travels that I've had and performing for 25 years, most concert pianists have lived, eat, and breathed this instrument since they were, 2, 3, the womb.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I mean, when I was 10 years old, my mother signed me up for piano lessons, and I was obsessed with basketball, and I slept with my basketball, and I was in the hoop shoot, and I was, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, want to be on varsity. I mean, I just lived basketball. And
that was your true passion. Why did your parents make you take piano lessons?
I remember Mom told me, years and years ago, she used to tell me, when the phone would ring, 'cause you remember the rotary dial phones. It's not like the cell phones we have now,
Yeah, kids.
And, yeah, for real. And the phone would ring, and I would go to the piano, and I would play the exact tone.
Oh.
And my mom played organ, piano.
So your mom was
not as a profession, but she's proficient. My dad sang, had a beautiful voice. So I think my mother thought it was in the blood. Well, for me, it was just kind of boring. I was like, it's an offshoot. It's something to do. But I really didn't want to go that first piano lesson, and I was on and off with it for about 2 or 3 years. And then I went to piano camp, I think, in Montana when I was 15, and something just clicked. And I fell in love with it. I started getting better faster, really fast. I started passing people who've been taking for years longer than I was. And I think it helped to have a photographic memory. And I just started winning things, competitions. And then I started jamming my fingers in basketball at the time. The doctor says, it's basketball or piano. What's it going to be?
So you were forced to make a decision.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was really hard. What made you sway to the piano as opposed to basketball?
Because I was never going to be Michael Jordan.
Well, but you were also in a sports town, from what I understand.
Yeah, and in Montana, the town where I'm from, in Ennis, it's very sports centered and very sports minded, and this is rare. And my first piano teacher, said, well, you should go to Bozeman, nearby town, 50 miles away. I found a teacher who's my mentor still. He'll be 92. Wow. I still keep in touch with him. God bless the man. Has more knowledge in his pinky than I do in my whole body. And if not for him, I don't think, and he did not want me to go into music. He said, whatever you do, when you graduate high school, find something else to do with your life. You'll be a hell of a lot happier. And I thought, no, I'm going to be a pianist. I mean, that's what I want to be, And I knew when I was 18, I wanted to be a concert pianist. I wanted to be a university professor, and I wanted to do it. And years ago, maybe about six years ago, I went back to Montana to play. And he said, I knew you weren't going to listen to me at all. And I'm sure glad you didn't.
Wow. Kind of reverse psychology on you there, right?
Yeah, and he said, but now you know why I tried to discourage you, because music, I mean, in your pianist, music is a hard road.
It is.
It's an isolating road. I tell my students, and with basketball and piano, there's a lot of parallelisms. I mean, it's focus, it's practice, it's isolation. You're competing against yourself to get better to the next level. And I thrive on that, and it's always been an obsession for me to be better than my last practice session. Even now, I think at 45, more than even I was when I was a teenager in my early undergrad days, it's more important to me now to get to a higher level than it ever was.
You've channeled your sports passion powerfully through your music.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, I understand there's another interesting tidbit about you. You have a certain obsession that I happen to share too. And I think you're dressed all in black to tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your obsession with Star Wars.
My students know I'm really obsessed with Star Wars, like the dark side of the Force. Like my students call me Darth Immel. That's my Instagram. That's my Instagram page. Yeah. I don't know when they start calling me that. I think it was at Louisiana Tech, and before I took the job at Kutztown, they said, you should be just Darth Immel. I mean, you're like the emperor. And I thought, thank you.
Were you
I
that
love
imposing and scary for your students?
It's the eyes, they're big.
Love it.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of stuck with that. And but yeah, I love Star Wars. How about John Williams?
I do too. So anyway, we could talk about Star Wars, we could talk about basketball all night. Tell us what you're going to play for us today.
I'm playing two pieces by a composer named Radamés Gnattal. And Gnattal is a Brazilian composer, and really in the shadow of Villa-Lobos, because Villa-Lobos in the 20th century is Brazilian music, truly. And Gnattal's music, even though there's some, concert classical tradition works, his music is really rooted in pop, jazz, and samba, which is really kind of the lifeblood of Rio in that country, in my opinion. I mean, Villa-Lobos is always going to be revered, but Gnattal's music is, I think, unjustly neglected. In guitar circles, it's a cornerstone. In piano circles, these two pieces, the first one is called Vaidosa, which is a waltz. The second, Negaceando, which the translation escapes me now, is more about the samba rhythms and in the pulse, I think, of Rio. And they're very diametrically opposed.
I can't wait to hear them. Let's hear you play.
Sure.
Wow, Dan, those pieces were just amazing. That first one was like heart-achingly beautiful. And the second one was just so full of really great samba energy. Now, I was actually...
Makes you want to go to Brazil.
Yeah, I was in Brazil actually twice. And the thing
I'm
that
jealous.
the thing that really impressed me was that music is everywhere, every corner, every person, everybody's singing, everybody's dancing.
It's the blood of the country.
It is. It's like eating for them. Nobody can walk out in the street without dancing or singing or listening to something. And I got so jealous.
And Gnattal knew that, I think, and he heard, the pulse of the street, and you hear it in the music.
Oh, it's so infectious. You want to, with the second one, you want to dance, but the first one, you just want to stop and just...
Cafe music, you can just, drink wine somewhere in Copacabana or Rio, and just be.
Dan, thank you so much for sharing these gems.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's an honor.
Yeah,
thank you.
So for the Cunningham Piano Show, I'm Hugh Sung. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe so that we can let you know when new episodes come up. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.